Well, would you look at that? In the heat of late August, we have a new trade report, some new rumors circling around your Boston Celtics, specifically Anfernee Simons, as he has been the talk of the Celtics offseason since making the move for him back in June. An NBA insider revealed that there is some interest around the league in Anfernee Simons and a trade for him, so we're going to break down that report on today's show. But before we do, I want to hear from you guys. Brad Stevens is making some moves that at least some Celtics fans would call questionable this summer. So I wanted to get a gauge of where the Green Teamers are at. If you believe in Brad Stevens' moves this summer, go down below and hit the thumbs up icon, like today's video. But if not, if you're skeptical and you think he's made the wrong moves, go down to the comment section and tell me why down below. All right, let's get into this Anfernee Simons trade report from Sam Amico of HoopsWire. Used to be a part of The Athletic. He is absolutely tapped in when it comes to what's going around the league. He said, the 76ers and Denver Nuggets are among the teams that have expressed interest in a possible trade for Celtics guard Anfernee Simons, according to sources. Also said that sources said the Bucks could be another team that will make a run at Simons before training camp. Now, hold your horses just a little bit because Amico also said this. That said, it appears the Celtics have had no luck and aren't opposed to the idea of keeping Simons. Now, do I think that they aren't opposed to the idea of keeping Simons if there is a trade available? No, that's not the case. I think if Brad Stevens sees a trade out there for Simons that makes sense for Boston and clearing up their books, they're going to go out there and do it. And want to know the reason why I believe that? Because there has still been no introductory press conference for Simons. This is the only thing that we've gotten as far as an official Celtics statement regarding him at all. We don't know what number he's going to wear. We haven't seen him answer one question from a media member whatsoever. There is still yet to be an introductory press conference for Anfernee Simons, and that tells me that the Celtics are still looking to potentially deal him before the start of training camp and the 25-26 regular season. Like I said, Brad Stevens will trade Anfernee Simons whenever the right deal comes, whether that is today, whether that is next week, whether that is the day before training camp, whether that is a month into the season or right at the trade deadline. Whenever that right deal comes along, or at least the best deal that he thinks he can get, he's going to go out there and trade Anfernee Simons. I don't think the Celtics are married to him. He's on a 1-year, $27 million deal. If he plays out the entire season, then they're going to get nothing back for him. Don't expect a huge return back for Anfernee Simons, but it would be better for the Celtics long-term if they could get some assets back in a trade before the deadline. With that being said, what's your take? Will Anfernee Simons play a full season with the Boston Celtics? Yes or no? Very simple question. Will Brad Stevens find a trade partner for Simons before he's locked in for the full season? You let me know down below. So let's talk about these teams that are interested in signing a Simons trade at this point. Do the 76ers or the Nuggets even make sense? It makes sense in theory, right? Both teams would love a high-energy, high-powered scoring guard off of their bench, especially Denver. Because when you look at Philly's assets a little bit here, they're kind of they have at least a little bit of a logjam in that backcourt. You have Tyrese Maxey, you have Jared McCain, you have VJ Edgecombe, who's probably going to play a majority of his minutes at that 2 spot, only being 6'5", and you also have Quentin Grimes, restricted free agency, waiting in the wings. So that's 4 legit 1s and 2s that this team probably can't necessarily fit a large role in for a guy like Anfernee Simons. But let's just ignore all the on-court fit right now. It's reported that they have interest, so let's talk about it. The assets that they have to send back in a trade for Boston, I'm not going to lie, are not that great. They have Paul George, but I only have him on here because I don't think that he would be considered an untouchable by Philly. Then you just move all the way down to their next highest paid player after Embiid, Maxey, and Edgecombe, and you get to Kelly Oubre Jr. at $8.4 million, then Andre Drummond at $5 million. I mean, he might be stealing money at that rate. Lonnie Walker has been waived by the Sixers. He's back on the EuroLeagues now, so that can't even be traded for anymore. I just forgot to take that off. And then Adam Bonner makes under $2 million. So that could eventually maybe be the difference between getting a trade done or not, but the Sixers would have to give up a ton of players on their books right now in order to get any sort of deal done for Anfernee Simons. Would probably have to be a 3-team deal as well. Then we flip gears to the Nuggets, who I think have a little bit more of a role available on their roster for an Anfernee Simons. They're letting go of Russell Westbrook this upcoming year. It's all likelihood he's going to be signing with the Kings. And off of the bench, they don't have a lot of go-to scoring options, guys who can go get theirs by themselves, off the dribble type of scorers. Now, as far as the assets they have on their books right now, because they're not trading, obviously, their starting 5. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson, who they recently acquired from Michael Porter Jr., and, of course, Christian Brown, who starts there at the 2 guard. Now, I don't think they're going to trade Jonas Valanciunas away for an Anfernee Simons either, just because they need a serviceable enough backup big to spell Jokic in the minutes where he needs to go to the bench so the Nuggets don't get absolutely murdered when he's not on the floor. Zeke Naji, another guy who you're just like, going down the list, going down the payroll, up $8 million guy is really the most expensive player they could trade you in an Anfernee Simons deal. Now, I'm not saying that Simons is going to command back a huge return or a big-time performance player, but I mean, Zeke Naji, is that really going to be the headliner? He's stealing money, too. This might be one of the worst contracts in the NBA, under $10 million. Peyton Watson, I think for that figure at 4.4, I think he's a little bit too valuable to the Nuggets at this point. Plays good defense, plays a lot bigger than his 6'8 frame, and he can rebound and hit the corner three. At $4.4 million, he's not better values in the league. You got De'Ron Holmes at $3 million, Julian Strawther, a little less than $3 million. There is not a lot of room to get a deal done. Both of these teams, it would take each 3 or 4 players, minimum, to be able to go out there and execute a trade for Anfernee Simons. Not just, and let's not say that all these players that we just talked about on those lists would be going straight back to the Celtics. No, there would probably have to be some sort of 3-team deal manufactured in order to get any sort of framework, at least realistic. The Sixers would have to trade 3 players. Celtics can't take back 3 players for one. Also, the Sixers would take back more money in this deal, probably, than they would be sending out. So that would hard cap them at the first apron and make them unable to sign Quentin Grimes. So you can basically just take them off the list entirely. And then Denver, on the other hand, that group of assets is just not all that great. Both these scenarios seem pretty unlikely at this point, but hey, they're being reported as interested in Simons, so at least from their point of view, they have some semblance of thinking a trade could get done. So with that being said, pick one to trade with for Anfernee Simons and your Boston Celtics. If it's the Sixers, give me a PHI in the comment section. If it's the Nuggets, give me a den down below. I'm trying to think, which team would you rather have get dealt Anfernee Simons to, and which team had the better assets coming back in a potential Boston trade? I think over both of those teams, the Milwaukee Bucks absolutely have more flexibility and more desirable assets than the Sixers and the Nuggets do as far as what they could trade for Anfernee Simons. If you look at what Milwaukee's got on their books right now, look, I'm not saying that Kyle Kuzma is a player that I would want, but clears up some money, and he will play some bad basketball. He'll be a tank commander for you, no doubt about it. Bobby Portis is an intriguing name here, but Giannis is a big fan of his. I'm not so sure that the Bucks want to necessarily move him. They weren't willing to trade him for Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors, so that doesn't necessarily make me think that they would want to trade him for a $27 million expiring Anfernee Simons. Obviously, they'd have to add more to that deal as well, so that would even make them less inclined to make the deal. Kevin Porter Jr. makes $5 million. Ryan Rollins makes $4 million. Taurean Prince makes about 3.7, as well as Gary Trent Jr. makes 3.7. They also have Gary Harris on the roster making about 3.2. They got 2 out of the 3 Garys in the entire NBA. Pretty cool fact there. And then everybody else but Giannis and those guys make less than $3 million. So there isn't a ton of flexibility, but if you were thinking about bad asset for bad asset, Kyle Kuzma's there, and who knows how much they think that Anfernee Simons could raise their ceiling. So maybe they would end up trading a guy like Bobby Portis because they can take back more money than they have on their books right now, than they are sending out in a trade, I should say. They're $22 million away from that first apron. So any deal where they would take back more, it would hard cap them, but they're still so far away from that number that it would be okay for a team like the Bucks to be hard capped at that first apron. They would still probably have upwards of $10+ million to work with as far as taking money back in a deal. So let's talk about Bobby Portis real quick, because I think this is the best player, and even me saying that, I don't 100% believe it, because I still think it's a little bit unrealistic that you get a guy of Bobby Portis' caliber back in an Anfernee Simons trade. Plus, the Celtics we know have been prioritizing guys that are on cheap, or not cheap, but short-term deals. Money's coming off the books ASAP. Bobby Portis is on a 3-year deal upcoming here. I believe it's 3 years, $43 million or something like that. He got the mid-level exception, non-taxpayer, and I'm not so sure that Milwaukee is itching to get rid of him at this point after signing to a contract extension and already declining trade offers for him previously. And this is where I land. Don't be surprised. If Anfernee Simons is traded at any point in the next 5-6 months, don't be surprised at all if the return isn't something that becomes an on-court net positive for your Boston Celtics. What has Brad Stevens been prioritizing this entire offseason? Cleaning up the Celtics salary cap books, as Jason Tatum is going to miss the entire upcoming season. So what that entails is you have a guy on your roster making $27 million, and he's expiring at the end of the year. There's only so much value you could get back for a contract like that, especially when he doesn't play two ways on the basketball court. So you're going to be looking at just straight dumpable contracts, maybe something that you could package in another deal before the trade deadline. Like the Celtics are going to try to clear as much of that $27 million off the books as possible so they can get under the luxury tax and avoid the repeater tax penalties for the foreseeable future. That is the priority with trading Anfernee Simons, not getting back a player that's going to net you out a positive on the basketball court this season or beyond. With that being said, what's your priority this upcoming season? Why did I say priority? Very weird like that. Is it to win the most games this upcoming year to contend in the Eastern Conference, or is it to get under that luxury tax so that the roster flexibility that you have in the future is a lot bigger? Let me know what you guys think. Type win if you want to win the most games. Type tax if you want to get under luxury tax this upcoming season. We have one more story to get to before we wrap up today's show, but get hooked up with this awesome Jason Tatum jersey deal at this link right here, chatsports.com/Tatum shirt. That's chatsports.com/Tatum shirt to get yours today. This is the regular Celtics Kelly Green Association jersey. Like, why would you not want to have this in your collection? I'm getting myself one as well for the watch parties next season, even though he might not be out there on the court. That's once again chatsports.com/Tatum shirt. Don't worry, you don't have to type it out. I put it in the comment section and description of today's video. So go down below, click that link, and get yourself a Tatum jersey today. Speaking of JT, woof, what is going on here? Jason Tatum got a new haircut here, and he's rocking the cornrows. Look, say what you will, it's the offseason. It's also leading up to a season that Jason Tatum probably won't be playing, but he was at Bradley Beal's wedding over the weekend, and he was sporting this new do. Kind of divided Celtics Twitter a little bit, so let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Here he is hanging out with The Game. The famous LA rapper was in attendance as well. So JT rocking a new do. We'll see how long this sticks. I would presume that by the time Tatum is back on the basketball court, his first game will not feature this new cornrows hairstyle. But for the offseason, for the recovery, I'm cool with it. If he's comfortable, if he likes something, mixing in something new, then I'm all for it. We can talk about it more on Twitter. That's where I found all those images. My handle right here, at Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name is common, but I am not. And that will do it for today's edition of the show. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel for the latest and best Celtics news and rumors updates all offseason long. We'll be carrying all this coverage into the regular season as well. So hit that subscribe button and turn your noties on. We'll see you in the next one. And as always, let's go C's.